the sun's all about when the lights go out. Okay, so neither one of these or that, wallpaper in the description, good. We're not even talking about the SMSL M400 DAC, although it is being used right now. So when you ask me how good is it, it's good enough. For these, get down. The XPA HC-1 Emotiva monoblocks. I mentioned these when I did the review of the big Emotiva that was like one size. Well, this has a gap, that gap right there. And that makes it a little bit unique. And I would love to do the review entirely here in the living room, but the air conditioner is going to be noisy, which it's still on. I guess I couldn't hear it because, you know, the Black Keys was playing. That's the Black Keys when the lights go on, from Black Snake Mountain, by the way. So I'm going to take these, or at least one of them. I'm going to bring it to my desk, and let's take a peek in the inside and see what makes the good go. This is a hot dog. Well, we already started the intro. So this is the HC-1, and you could see it a little bit better on the desk, I guess. It is a unique design, whereas I already reviewed the big XPA2, which was the regular size amplifier. And if I could just start this review, like the actual review, off with this is more money to get two of these. This is $700. You have to get another one for $700. That's $1,400 instead of like the 11 that the whole one was. If you move ever, that extra money is worth it, because you could just like pick this up. I mean, they're not heavy in the first place, but just breaking the amplifier in half so that you can have two, just for that reason, just for ease of movement. If I could take this screen and cut it in half and have it and then put it back together, it'd be so much easier to move. Imagine if all speakers are one piece, it'd be terrifying. So just on that alone, you should probably invest the extra money. But let's talk about the actual changes and what the benefits of going with monoblocks. So you have to excuse the dust and things. HC-1, power button in the front, big Emotiva logo. Basically, this whole panel is just for one single blue LED. I might not even turn it on the desk, really. It's not that heavy, but it ain't that light either. It's still a metal box containing things. Here's your back. We've got a single card. I know you can get the Emotivas with like 7 amplifiers in them. This is one of those amplifiers, with your nice, beautiful 5-way binding posts and your XLR connector and your beautiful RCA connector, and you have a switch, which kind of leads me to believe that, like, well, you could have 2 different sources if you really wanted to play, you know, devil's advocate, and you could literally go behind the amp and you could have like your turntable hooked up directly to this, and then you could have something else from a mixer or something hooked up to this, and then you wouldn't have to get an expensive like preamp. It just flew in my eye. I tried to catch a little moth and it flew in my eye. Just saying, it's an option. It's an option. A lot of amps don't do the switch. They just tell you to plug in only one. The Emotiva was nice enough to do the switch. Triggers in and out, because I was literally kicking, as he had these in the bottom of the table. Literally, my toe has touched that power button so many times. So you can do trigger ins and outs. You would run a 3.5mm mono. If this was the master amp, you'd have the out of this go to the in, and the other one, it would turn each other one. I should have done that just to turn one on, and it would trigger the other one. I think I have a cable for that specifically. But then you would also trigger it from like a phono pre or something that has a trigger out. So you don't have to keep turning it on. Status LEDs, which is plural, and there's only one LED, so that's improper. But you could have that one like LED in the front, just not be on. Thanks. Circuit breaker, which I like way more than fuses, although it should never actually trip. And here's your power, which does not have a ground, and the main bus power there. What does it say? What does it say? Say something interesting. Franklin, Tennessee, Emotiva Corp, shock hazard. Doesn't say how much power it's going to draw. Oh, here it does, 500 watts. So a claim, and it will, this is 115 or 230 compatible. So you don't even have to do anything special if you want to run this in Europe. So let's just peel the lid away. I'm going to put you down where you're going to crush my foot in a second. It's going to be hilarious. It's going to be on Best of Zio's Pantera 4. And you can see this is just basically what we had in the double. If you haven't seen my review of the XPA, the 2 XP, whatever it was, the single one, it came with a huge ass power supply, and then it came with 2 slots. And basically, the only difference that you're actually paying for between 2 of these for $1,400 and 1 of those for $1,100 is you get twice as many power supplies. And here's my thinking. I personally don't have a speaker hard enough to drive to even notice a difference. Mic drop. Like, this is a better system. Like, I am absolutely an advocate for monoblocks. I just love monoblocks. I just like having a left amplifier and a right amplifier. Crosstalk is 0 because there literally can't crosstalk. So I even have monoblocks DACs in my living room because I'm a little, it's the Zeos thing. Just leave it alone. But it's amazing to think that for only like $300 more, you're getting an entire another one of those, because that's a really fucking impressive piece. Like, I could get down here. We can get down and in this if you really want. Because the amplifier hardly looks like it has anything on it. This is where this is the money shot right here. So like I was saying, there's 3 benefits. 3. The first one I already mentioned is ease of movement. You can fit these in a little bit weirder configurations. You don't just put amp. You can put an amp to the left and an amp to the right. You could stack them vertically. You could hit 2 in a cluster. You could just rotate it around. You can stick it in the back seat of your car if you wanted to. So one is just the compactness of the amp is a little bit easier to deal with. The second benefit is a dedicated power supply per channel. So if you're going monoblocks, you'd have a dedicated power supply and an amp, dedicated power supply and an amp, versus power supply and 2 amps. My issue is I can't test that. That benefit is like way beyond, because even my own Walshes, which are pretty fucking inefficient, I think I would set them ablaze if I tried to push them at like what this can do. I don't recommend it. But that being said, the third benefit does add up, and it's harder for me to quantify it without having the original one here, is separation. Is literally taking the amps and breaking them in half so that no parts are shared. Now, it's a lot better in this sort of design of an amp where you have a card amp, because there was 2 cards in the original. And the 2 cards had all the components on them, and then all the components on something completely different. The only thing that was combined together was the power supply was touching both. And that would mean if for some reason the left channel desired more power, it would sort of starve a little bit from the right channel, because it would have to, it's, whoa, but that's very rarely going to be the case. Usually when you're playing music or movie, well, maybe movies are probably more likely to have this happen, where it's like loud, big sound here, and then the other one's like, it just gets pulled down because it doesn't have the power supply. When you break it in half, and each one has a power supply, that's not an issue. This one can run at full fuck wattage. In fact, what is the full fuck wattage of this claims? I think it's 300. Well, at 8 ohms, it's 300. At 4 ohms, it's 600 RMS, which is a lot. Now, I'm going to have to mention my crowns in the living room, because my crowns can do 1,550 watts at 8 ohms each, monoblocked, and they cost less than this. I'm just going to say that and then move on, because Emotiva did send this to me, and they do have some really interesting stuff. Their subs, and as far as like, if you open up the crown and look at it, this power supply isn't in there. This is a better piece than the crown. Can I tell the difference audibly? Personally, not really. But this is still better. Will a Timex watch be as good as an Omega? I mean, as far as telling you the time, they'll both do the job. It's one of those scenarios. It's just, this is audio, and if everyone doesn't say, if I don't physically say, this is so much better, it's 120% better, you're gonna be, it's not even fucking close. It's not even close. You throw everything else away. But I don't do that, because like I need to be convinced. And this is convincingly well built. How does that have so much shit on the front there for one LED? Oh, that must be doing other things. But this is definitely the best designed amp Emotiva currently has for sale. Just saying that. Just saying it. They've come to the future with the cards and the separate power supplies, and I wonder if they're going to do like a bigger power supply. That's a chunk. That has got some chunky things going on to run everything. So separation not only for power supply reasons, but also for just acoustical reasons. And I don't know how this works, all right? It might just be all in my head. But when you run a single stereo amp and you listen to it, and you run monoblocked amps, and they're just separate, two separate things, I don't know what it is. It just always sounds a little bit more defined left and right. Could be bullshit. I could be bullshitting you right now. I'm probably bullshitting you right now. But I do monoblocks in my living room, not just for aesthetics. I mean, here's another thing. Aesthetically, that's way nicer to run monoblocks. It's just having one and one. My OCD is very happy. I have a left speaker and a left amp and a left DAC and a right speaker and a right amp and a right DAC and a left subwoofer and a right subwoofer. Everything's apart. It's one fireplace in the middle, but everything else is two channel. And if that's your OCD, this is the amplifier you're buying. Because, I mean, even my crowns are stereo amplifiers that have to be then modified to be mono, even though currently they're running stereo again for separation of the horns and the woofer of the... Okay, so let's just summarize. We don't have to go into any more of this. This is a mildly insanely powerful amplifier. 300 watts at 8 ohms is what I'm going to refer to as plenty. 600 watts at 4 ohms is what I'm going to refer to as absurd, but also plenty. The power is clean. There's no noise. They're very certainly prettier than the crowns. Crowns are lighter and have the fucking rack mount ears that you can't get off. And this is a beautiful black box. I kind of miss the original silver trim though. They used to have that. That is silver. Now they made them all black. They're gone emo on me. One day they will also put an RGB LED on the front, and they won't just be the company that's blue. And one day they'll also bring back their remote controls. This is my remote control for that Emotiva. Look at this aluminum bastard. You don't need remotes for this, obviously, but you know, just saying Emotiva sell a good remote. I'm gonna say it every time I review something. You know, there's hot glue where there needs to be hot glue, and beautiful the vents. I love how the vents line up perfectly with these heat sinks. They didn't like that's an attention to detail thing that they could have easily just ignored, to have these vent holes and then just said, I'll put a heat sink over it. They probably got the heat sinks from whatever manufacturer they got them from, and then specifically laser cut the vents to 100% line up with it. That's the kind of shit you're paying for. You're paying for that attention to detail. What else we got to talk about? Nothing? Nothing? We're good? Is Ruby wallpaper good enough? I hope so. I'm sorry I didn't turn it on my desk, but I've got it on at the beginning of the video, and I have it on at the end of the video. So, there you go. Thank you for Emotiva for sending this out also, because something like this I would love. I'm glad I got to test it against my crowns. And I've tested with as many speakers as I could hook up to it. And it's just always ridiculous because I'm preamping it, because you have to preamp. Real quick, in case you forgot or don't know what's going on. This is a power amp, which means you turn it on, you put signal into it, and then it outputs. And there's no volume control here. There's nothing that says don't blow shit up. You have to crush the signal that you're sending into this. You have to have a volume knob somewhere. Either it's a preamp on an amp, or preamp on a DAC or something like that, or even like a foobar volume slider, which I wouldn't trust that, by the way. So this is not the entire system. You can't just have this. You have to have, well, obviously you can't just have this. You have to have two. Although you could just run this as your center channel. Or I probably wouldn't run a subwoofer. Like if you were building a 0.1 sub, this is not the right amp for that, because those require in the thousands. That's where the crown comes in, because distortion numbers do creep up on the crown at higher power, but a subwoofer is just a giant moving cone, so you don't really hear the distortion. You need the power. This is a much cleaner amplifier at its maximum than any of the power amps should be. But then again, also, I'd never take my power amp to the maximum because that would light the world ablaze. So yes, very, very nice Emotiva. It's very pretty, and thank you for letting me borrow 2 of them. You'll get them back safe and sound. If I was contracted out to do someone's home theater, and they didn't want powered speakers, and it was going to be like a symmetrical, like 7.1, I'd tell them to buy 7 of these. Spend $5 on 7 of these. It would be $4,900. Maybe I can even get a deal. Stack them in a row, and just go left channel, right channel, center channel, right rear, left rear, right. I mean, you wouldn't need it for the back channels, honestly. I would try to convince myself to get smaller amps to the back, but if someone wanted it, they wanted every channel to be an identical speaker, which, by the way, is the greatest way to do a surround sound. Why not? So I think I'm going to do the outro now, which is going to happen. Are we done? That was wonderful. Thank you, Emotiva, for sending these out, by the way. So let's do the outro in here. These. So, these. It's really, it's more aesthetical pleasing than actual requirements. But I'm sure somebody's got like a bigger set of the ohms, something really, really difficult to drive. Like the clip heresies don't need these. Ever. Maybe if you wanted to light them ablaze, you're like, you know what? Fuck these heresies. These ELACs perform very well on them. Oh yeah. But yeah. Now that's my findings. I'm recording this after the intro. I don't actually know what I said in the middle, so we're gonna go with it. So thank you, Emotiva, for sending these out. I'll be boxing them back up and sending them back to you. No yard sales. I'm sorry, guys. If you don't know, supporters of this channel in the $5 Patreon or Subscribe Star can participate in yard sales 1st to the 10th of every month. I just take a bunch of shit that I bought, like these ELACs, or that companies have sent to me, like that SMSL, or that people have donated to the channel, and I just shove it out there and say, whatever you want to bid. And I ship free, continental United States, half shipping, international. And if you want to buy all the old stuff that I've been using and gathering in this apartment, I love this apartment, feel free to look at that. There's also, you get to see these reviews early on both Patreon and Subscribe Star, up to 2 weeks now. You get to ask me any question you want on platform. Keep your questions short, but I will answer any text questions you have of, hey, I want to buy this, or what do you think's better, this or this. Yard sale, ask me any questions, see things early. If you're feeling a little bit more spendy, the behind-the-scenes private exclusive Telegram chat, which is an app, if you don't know what Telegram is, it's amazing, is available for $10 patrons or $10 Subscribe Star subscribers. The benefits go on each, and you can join me there, and I will answer any questions you want with my voice. Or if you're like, hey, Zeos, how tall is that ELAC? And I will literally get out a tape measure and video bubble it and be like, here, this is how big it is. And so that's for it. And there's also a bunch more other people in there who are really helpful. They might try to make you spend more money. Just warning you now, don't be afraid if they go up in there and they're all telling you to spend money. Just be like, nah. Zeos is like cool with mid-fi. I love mid-fi. Mid-fi is great. These would be considered low-fi to a lot of people who are just like, we can't even respect their feet because they're so high up. But I love these things. Anyway, that's that. Check out Hi-Fi Guides. Check out the forum on Hi-Fi Guides. And we are done here. Right? Chewbacca's she's somewhere. Anyway, thank you all for stopping by. See you tomorrow.